Welcome to this special edition of Filtered. It is a masterclass today on how you can become a master public speaker. And all you really need is one cell phone. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do it. I'm joined today by colleagues from Bangladesh. We're speaking today to the GMMSC Career and Soft Skills Development Club in Bangladesh. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, you want to set up the agenda for us today? And hello to all of your colleagues on your Facebook page. We're streaming this live across all social media today. And get ready, folks, whether you're a part of the Bangladesh Soft Skills Club or anyone in the world trying to learn how to communicate more effectively, you're going to hear some interesting tips today and tricks. So hop right in. Oh, and we have Zarul joining us as well. Good morning or good afternoon
Uh,
to you.
yes, sir. He's
Good
our coordinator,
good
sir.
afternoon. Hello, Waka. I'm sorry I'm a bit
Hi,
late because I was stuck in jam. So I'm really
no
feel honored
problem.
to have you in the program.
No problem, but I will go ahead and share with you one tip, public speaking tip. I always start on time because I hate penalizing the people who showed up on time uh, because some, through no fault of their own, couldn't make it. So I am a big believer in starting presentations on time. Here's one technique for doing it. Say, hey, before we start, I'm often asked a question, and then you ask yourself a question, you give somebody a tip. So you're not really starting the official presentation, but you're giving something of value. Having said that, let me now let you take the stage and set things up for us. When your microphone is off, I'm going to need you to click your microphone on. There we go.
It's okay, right?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Uh, Thank you. Today is a great occasion for my club, that is our club, and we are feeling honored to have Mr. Kizu Waka as the speaker. And as you know, you're a world famous person in terms of communication and public speaking. You're a tremendous trainer. So, welcome, sir, to the program. I'm really feeling honored, and I think I should uh, focus a bit on your profile. We really astonished to see your profile. You're such a great, expert in communication. That's really an honor for us to have you in the program. So, as you know, that our speaker today, Mr. Waka, is a world-renowned communication expert, speaker, and uh, trainer who has coached presidents, CEOs, different winners of different awards, also leaders from all walks of life. And also, Mr. Waka is the author of several tremendous books on public speaking and communication. And his training programs have reached millions of people across the world. And he's also widely recognized for his practical, effective, and inspiring methods that empower individuals to speak with confidence, clarity, and impact. So you're indeed privileged to have you among us, and I hope that the uh, the viewers and listeners of this session will be benefited a lot by attending this program. And I welcome you all to attend this program, and the viewers and the participants here in the program, and really feeling honored. So, the viewers and the audience, let's welcome Mr. Tizu Waka for this session. Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Waka.
Thanks. If you have 1,000 hours to learn how to be a better speaker, I've got more than 1,000 hours of online training material for you. But you probably don't have 1,000 hours today, right? If you have 1 hour, we've got an action-packed hour for you right now. But let's say you only have 30 seconds. What do? Here's the single most important tip I have for you. If you've got a presentation tomorrow, a job interview in 2 days, a pitch for raising angel funds for your business in 3 days, the number one tip I have for you is simply practice that presentation using your cell phone video, but not just once. You have to practice it, look at it, figure out what you like, what you don't like, do it again. Do more of what you like, do less of what you don't like. Keep doing it as many times as it takes until you can look at that video and think, wow, that guy's pretty good. That gal's pretty good. If you do that, you will eliminate 99% of the flaws that destroy most public speaking. And guess what? I'm talking against my own book here. You don't have to pay me anything for that. It costs you nothing. If you have a cell phone, if you have a family member who has a cell phone or a webcam, you can do it all yourself for absolutely no money. It's not hard to do. It costs nothing. It's uncomfortable. Oh, I don't like looking at my face. Oh, I don't like my own voice. Guess what? Nobody cares what you don't like. Everyone hearing you give a presentation has to hear your voice. They have to see you. All that really matters is, do you have something interesting? So that's my first big tip for you. It completely eliminates any self-confidence issues. What makes you lack confidence when you're speaking is the fear of, uh-oh, what if I'm not very good? What if I'm not very interesting? What if I'm boring people? That's what makes us lose confidence. And here's the reality. You might actually be boring. You might actually look like you're not confident. I don't say that to rattle you, but it's a simple truth. Most presentations, most job interviews, most talks, most speeches are boring. Think of how many lectures you've attended from your high school teachers, your college professors that frankly weren't very good. So if you're nervous about boring your audience, there's a good rational basis for that. The solution is not to meditate and visualize a standing ovation. And hey, I'm not against meditation. I meditate daily. The solution is not to drink green tea and breathing exercises. Nothing wrong with that. I do both of those things every day. But the solution is to actually make sure you're interesting. You will never know if you're interesting unless you see how you're coming across. Thanks to the modern miracle of a cell phone video, you can do that. Now, I've been doing this for 40 years. And when I started out teaching politicians and executives and CEOs how to be more effective at their public speaking, I had to spend a lot of money hiring a local TV camera operator who would lug in this big, 80-pound camera, spend an hour or so setting up. It was complicated. It was time consuming. It was expensive. All that is gone. All you have to do is use your cell phone. Because here's the thing. You have a lifetime of experience of knowing what's boring, because you've seen a lot of boring presentations in your life. So if you watch a video of yourself and you think it's boring, guess what? You're right. The solution is redo your presentation, make it interesting. The number one problem most people have in any presentation, whether it's a new business pitch, whether it is a speech on a subject at an academic conference, whether it's even a job interview, the number one problem most people have is they're trying to cram too many facts, figures, and numbers into every presentation. They think of it as a game where they're trying to push as many facts out, and the more facts you get, the more you win. That's not how it works. So I'm going to pose a question to you that I give to every single client of mine when I'm working with them one-on-one. And I've worked in a lot of countries right around where you are. I've not been to your country in Bangladesh yet, although hope to get invited one day. I have worked in 45 nations around the world, and this is remarkably consistent. And I have students in every country in the world, including yours, other than, I think, North Korea. So here's the question I ask people. Think of the best speaker, presenter you've seen in the last 6 months or year. Now, tell me how many messages you remember from them. I don't mean if they were funny or walked around or seemed confident. I mean, how many messages did you actually remember from their presentation? Think about it. If you had to come up and type on our comment section right now, the actual messages you remember, and I don't mean a teacher you hear every day, but one presentation from someone who's not a professional public speaker or comedian. How many messages do you remember? I ask that question sometimes 6 days a week with my clients. And sometimes people say, "Oh, I don't know, TJ, everybody in my industry is boring. I don't remember anything." Sometimes someone remembers one idea, occasionally two, sometimes three. Every 3 or 4 months, someone will remember 4 ideas. And then once every 6 months, I'll have one person in a group of 10 or 20 people I'm training remember 5 ideas. That's from the best speaker they've seen in the last year, sometimes in their lifetime. In all the years I've asked that question, I've never had anyone remember more than 5 specific ideas, messages, or facts from any one presentation. And yet, the very same person who's telling me they can only remember 2 or 3 ideas will stand up. It's time for them to give their presentation. And what do you know? The first slide on their bullet page, on their PowerPoint, has 23 bullet points. And the second slide has 42. And the third slide has, rows and rows and complicated columns and complex charts. I'm like, what are you doing here? You just told me the best speech you've ever seen in your life. You remember 2, 3 ideas. You're now trying to communicate 157 different ideas. Do you see a disconnect? Yeah, but TJ, my audience is different. No, they aren't. Do you really think everyone in your audience is 10 times smarter than you are and has a memory 10 times better than you? No, they don't. So much of being a great speaker is narrowing the number of ideas you're trying to communicate in a presentation, and then devoting the rest of your time to making it more memorable. And you do that by telling stories. Human beings are wired to be open to story. I'm going to need anyone in the room who is with us live in the StreamYard, I need you to mute your microphone. I am hearing background sound. If you could do that for me. Thank you. So you've got to really figure that out. How do you narrow your messages down and illustrate stories? Now, some of you may say, well, TJ, I'm young. I am not a good speaker. I don't even know where to start. This whole thing seems tough. And I could tell you, so many people, when they see themselves on video, they don't like what they see. I've seen people say, TJ, I'm awful. I don't like this. I'm not good for this. And I've seen people say, maybe older than you, that, oh, I don't like my hairline. I'm getting a double chin. Nobody cares. Sometimes I'll have people say that they just don't think they look good enough to be seen in front of people. Nobody cares as long as you have interesting ideas. I once was doing training with someone who just gained some international prominence. We practiced the speech. We watched it. I thought she was pretty good. A lot of poise, great presence, fantastic accent and voice. I turned to her to ask her, this was in my studio in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, a number of years ago. And I said, well, what do you think? And I noticed her head was on the table and she was crying. I said, what's wrong? She said, TJ, I hate the way I look. I hate the way I sound. This is awful. What am I even doing here? And I was about to say what I normally do, which is relax. Nobody here is 21 anymore. And I'm losing my hair and getting wrinkles. Don't worry about it. I was about to say that. But then I realized I couldn't say that because she was, in fact, 21 years old. She happened to be the newly crowned Miss Universe. And yet she hated the way she looked. She hated the way she sounded because she'd never seen herself on video before, believe it or not. So it was an alien thing. It was a strange thing. It felt weird. But we did it again and again and again. And to this day, she's now a major spokesperson and a major celebrity in Australia, and makes her living doing TV commercials and giving speeches and giving presentations and serving as a spokesperson, and has gone on to be extraordinarily successful. But it took getting used to it, took getting over the hump. So if you do a practice like I ask you on video, the chances are excellent that the first time you watch yourself give that presentation or that talk, or you see the video of yourself and you don't like it, you're going to think this is awful. If you don't think that, it's kind of weird. It's completely normal to not like something about how you look, how you move, or your voice. You just have to keep practicing it and doing it again and again and again. That is the key. You didn't learn how to write your language in one day. You learned because you went to school and you learned how to write a letter, and then you learned the basics of punctuation. You did it in stages, in steps, for years, with teachers giving you constant feedback. Here's where you had a misspelling. Here's where your grammar was wrong. And you redid it again and again and again until you got to the point where you are good writers, competent writers. And yet most of us, as we enter the workforce, if you're going to be a tech entrepreneur, if you want to be this next CEO of Microsoft, it almost doesn't matter what industry you're in. The more you advance in your career ladder, how well you write, unless you're a professional journalist, doesn't really impact your career. How well you speak has a tremendous impact on your career. And that's why it's essential for you to learn how to be not a competent speaker, a good one, but a great one. The good news is there's little competition because most people are not like you. They're not taking the time today to actively learn how to speak. So that automatically puts you way, way ahead of the game. So I'm glad you're here with me today. I will be taking questions later, and we'll be letting you come right on the screen as well. But do keep that in mind. It's uncomfortable at first, but it's not hard. There are some things in life that are genuinely hard. If I come to your country and I say, wow, the cricket's great. I'm going to be the world's best cricket player. I'm going to be on the national team. It wouldn't matter my attitude. I would be horrible. I just don't have the physical skills, the eye-hand coordination, the speed. It wouldn't matter. Speaking is different. Anyone can be a great speaker. If you've ever had one interesting conversation with one friend, one-on-one in your entire life, guess what? You already have all the skills you need to be a great public speaker. People come to me and I work with CEOs and billionaire fund managers, billionaire owners of sports teams. I've worked with some of the top leadership families, political families in the regions around you. I've worked with queens and royalty in countries, and also a lot of students. And everybody thinks that they are somehow different, uniquely bad, uniquely not good at it. Everyone's deep down a little insecure about their speaking. It just means you're human because you weren't trained how to speak. And it's never been easier to be trained on how to speak. You don't even have to give me any money, although I do train people live online, in person, through workshops and seminars. You don't even have to pay me anything if you're willing to do it, because it isn't hard. It's just uncomfortable. So some skills, like being a world-class cricket player, are just really hard to do. Most people, doesn't matter how hard they practice, they're not going to get to the absolute upper echelon of cricket skills because they don't have certain raw talent. Speaking isn't like that. It's just a matter of, are you willing to put in the work? Think of it this way. And she's done this before, my wife comes to me and says, TJ, the garage is messy, it's cluttered. I need you to clean out that garage and make it neat and clean. I can come up with all sorts of excuses and say, well, I can't do that, or I'm not really good at that, or I don't have time for that. Guess what? I'm lying to myself and my wife. What I really mean is I don't want to clean the garage. But the fact is, anybody can clean a garage if you have, working arms and legs. It's a process. You pick up something, you take it outside, you look at it and think, have I used it in the last year? Does it still work? Do I need it? If not, I'm going to throw it away, give it away, or sell it. You do that systematically, and then you put things back, and you got a clean garage. Anybody can do it. And I'm here to tell you, anyone can be a great public speaker if they do the work. It's not hard. It's just not necessarily enjoyable. It's like me cleaning the garage. The first thing you need to figure out when you're giving a presentation is you really got to ask yourself, what is it I want to accomplish? If you are going to a job interview, you only want one thing. You want them to take away the impression that they should hire you. That's it. You want to give them reasons to give you a job offer. It's not to educate them on every aspect of your history from the time you were 5 years old. That's not the goal. Every presentation that you give is about trying to influence your audience to take some action. That's my assumption. So that's the first thing. I actually recommend writing it down. The next thing you do is you got to brainstorm on every idea it takes to possibly motivate people to do that one action you want them to do. And then here's the hard part. You've got to be an editor and narrow it down to just your top 5 ideas. One of you was nice enough to comment and said the most ideas you could remember were 4 ideas. Muhammad Armahanja says 4 ideas is most. So I'm saying upper limit of 5 ideas, even if it is an hour-long presentation, because I'm not going to try to convey more than 5 ideas in our presentation today. So first, figure out what is it you want the audience to do. Then narrow it down to 5 ideas. Then you got to focus on how to make it actually memorable. Because here's the thing about human brains, we don't really remember much hearing it. Now, it's different if it's a test. Your teacher can be a boring presenter, but if you've got a test on it Thursday and today's Tuesday, you're motivated. You're going to be, taking detailed notes or recording it on your cell phone or something and doing more reading and going through and underlining it because there's pressure on you. Your teacher can be a bad speaker and you have to take it because you're motivated to really get it all. So they can do a data dump. You can write it down. You're going to read it, study it, because they have power over your life. They're giving you a test. If you flunk the test, you flunk the course, you lose your college scholarship. Your parents are angry with you. They disown you. You have to go live in a trailer down by the river and work in a fast food place. At least that's how it works in America. So there's pressure on you to really pay attention, write everything down, memorize things. In an academic arena, everything I do is about helping people speak outside of the university, outside. So in the business world, the entrepreneurial world, the Fortune 500 world, and the civic world, the political world, because most of the time, audiences are not sitting down and writing everything out. They may listen. They may listen attentively. They may give you good eye contact, but keep in mind, every audience member is always thinking the same thing, which is this person really saying anything interesting to me that I need to pay attention to? Or can I daydream and think about what I'm doing later today? Or if I'm not on the front row and they can't see me, I'm going to go to plan B. Every audience in the world these days has a plan B if you're not a good presenter. It's called, let me check notifications and let me check text messages from my friends because they're probably going to be more interesting than this speaker. So please keep that in mind. Your audience, they don't have to be entertained. You don't have to tell a joke once a minute, but you've got to be interesting and relevant to them. That is what is key. The next thing you've got to do is illustrate key concepts with stories. So people say to me all that, well, TJ, I'm not a good storyteller. I'm not a natural storyteller. Liar. We all tell stories. If something happens to you awful this weekend and you bump into a classmate Monday morning and they say, how was your weekend? You don't say, well, at 6:31, I woke up Saturday morning. At 6:32, I got dressed. At 6:33, I turned the coffee pot on. You don't go in a linear, factual way when someone says, how was your weekend? You're going to go right to that story of, I was run off the road by this cabbie and they were screaming at me and it was their fault. You tell a story about the most interesting thing that happened to you, whether it was an awful thing or whether you saw the best cricket match of your life and you're talking about how fun and exciting it was. We as human beings are storytellers. It's a part of who we are, and it's always been that way. There's nothing new about it. The more technology gets fancier, I mean, I've got 4 screens in front of me. I have teleprompters in front of me. We're able to connect on today Facebook and LinkedIn and X and YouTube and half a dozen other live streaming platforms. Technology gets more sophisticated, but if you're boring, you're boring. If you're telling interesting, relevant stories, then that works. I'll never forget the first time I was training over in Eastern Europe. It was more than 20 years ago. And I was working with a prime minister of a small Eastern European country. And we were in an old dictator's palace. And this was my first time in a former Soviet bloc nation. And the prime minister said, TJ, I want to practice my speech. I had my cameras set up as I always do. And he said, I'm going to practice my speech in my native language, if that's okay. I said, sure, Mr. Prime Minister. So he stood up and his staff said to me beforehand, whatever you do, don't recommend changing a word of text. We've been working on it for 6 months. It's all approved. Okay. So he stood up, he had his text, and he was reading it. So his head was down, he was reading and monitoring, blah, 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 blah. Very monotone. I didn't understand the language, but that wasn't the problem. It was monotone. All I saw was the top of his head, and he had more hair than I do. It was flat, monotone, no movement, no eye contact. I recorded it. I hit play. We watched it. And he turned to me and said, TJ, give me your honest opinion. What do you think? And I paused for a minute. It was my first time working in Eastern Europe. I'm in a dictator's palace. I am surrounded by men with machine guns, all the bodyguards for this prime minister. I don't even know where the U.S. embassy is. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'm thinking, well, the guy was really awful, but I don't know if he's going to be open to criticism or what might happen to me. I thought for a minute and I said to myself, he's paying me a lot of money for an honest opinion. I guess I'll give it to him. So I said, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't know what you said because I don't speak your language, but with all due respect, you bored the heck out of me. His eyes got big. He looked at me. He looked at the guys with machine guns. He looked back at me. He looked at the TV screen again, and he said, you're right. It is incredibly boring. I wouldn't want to watch me. This is awful. We got to do something else. And with that, we took the speech that his staff had worked on for months. We took it, we balled it up, we tore it up, and we threw it in the garbage can. I said, okay, Mr. Prime Minister, let's start off square one. What is it you really want this audience to do, this address to Parliament? We wrote that down. So, okay, now let's brainstorm on every possible message, fact, number that might motivate them to do that. So we spent 5 minutes doing that. We came up with 20 or so messages. I said, okay, now take your pen, scratch off anything that isn't in the top 5. Let's come up with 5. We came up with 5. I said, now give me a story, an example, a case study that will make each one of those messages come alive, be interesting. be remembered. And he wrote a couple of words to remind him of that. When we were done, he had a single sheet of paper with 5 main bullet points and a couple of words underneath each one to remind him of the story. The whole thing took 20 minutes. We then did the speech again. I recorded it. This time, he had a smile on his face. This time, he was looking at me and everyone else in the room. This time, he looked like he was having fun. This time, his voice went up and down in a conversational way. It made him interesting. We recorded it. We watched it. As soon as we were done, he jumped out of his chair, gave me a hug, and said, TJ, you're a genius. I said, I'm not a genius. I just got you to stop doing all the things that made you a bore. This was the real you. So here's the thing people don't understand. Executives, high-powered executives come to me, political leaders, and they pay me a lot of money to help them. They think I'm going to teach them how to act for the camera, how to have the precise leadership hand gestures. No, I don't teach people how to act in front of an audience or in front of a camera. I teach people how to stop acting. That's right. I teach people to stop acting. The problem most people have is once they're out of their comfort zone, and that could be standing speaking to 3 people when you're used to sitting speaking to 1 person. It could be you're up for a job interview, so you're nervous, understandably. Once you're outside of your comfort zone, most people change themselves. They dial down their volume. They constrain their movements. Their voice gets softer. They get more monotone. They're no longer speaking in a way where there's natural pauses. And listening to me right now, you're probably thinking, wow, I'm going to fall asleep because it's boring. I stopped moving. I stopped moving my body. I stopped moving my hands. My voice got lower. That's what happens to billionaires. That is what happens to 11-year-olds I help before they're giving presentations in school. It happens to everybody. It's a normal human reaction. At some level, we're all like little bunnies. A bunny sees someone come by or a hunter, they freeze. Deer freeze, other animals freeze. We think, oh, there's danger. If we don't move, no one will notice us. That's what happens to so many people when they're giving a presentation. They freeze their body and they start thinking, how can I speak quickly and finish this? And it comes across as bored, scared, nervous, uninteresting. You don't want that. Okay, so what did I just do there? I wanted to stress the point of narrowing your messages down to a handful and the power of practicing on video. So I told a story. It happened to be a real story. There really was a prime minister of Slovenia that I trained this way, but I took a couple of minutes, not a long time, but a couple of minutes to illustrate the story, or it's a point with a story to make it more memorable for you. Now, when you do that, you don't have as much time to go through all the facts and go through all the data. Okay, that's reality. But you increase the odds of getting people to remember anything and everything you do. Now, I could just read to you sections of this book right behind me, My Secret to Foolproof Presentations. I could sit there and quickly go through slide after slide and read it to you this hour. Even though it's a great book, it would be boring. That's not you don't use speaking time to convey what's text. By the way, if you send me an email, I'll give you a copy of that book at absolutely no charge. The email is simply tj@tjwalker.com. I will send you at no charge a copy of this book, Secret to Foolproof Presentations, but I'm not going to read it for you now. You've got to use your speaking time to put a spotlight on just a handful of ideas. That is what is key. Now, the big question a lot of people have for me is, well, TJ, you're a professional speaker. It's easier for you to do that. I got to get it just right. I'm nervous I'll forget. So that's why I have to write out the whole speech. Worst thing you could ever do. One of the hardest things you could ever do is to read a speech without putting your entire audience to sleep. The second you're reading a speech, your head goes down. You've destroyed eye contact. Typically, it's harder to hear because your voice is now pointing down to the ground or the desk or the lectern. So it's harder to hear. You freeze your body because you want to stay right in front of this script. Bad idea. So my recommendation is work from a simple outline on a single sheet of paper, something that's about this big that has a handful of bullet points and a number or factor. I never speak without some notes, typically, but I have a horrible memory. But I never ever read notes, and no one sees me reading notes other than the teleprompter for when I'm doing my daily news commentary show. But people think I'm just speaking extemporaneously, and I'm moving around the room when I speak to groups. And the secret is I have a big high-tech budget for that. The budget is 3 sheets of paper about this size. I have them scattered throughout the room, large font, so I don't have to pick it up and touch it. I don't have to put on and take off reading glasses. I can just glance down. Typically, when I'm putting down a glass of water or picking it up, I can glance at my notes to see, here's the next thing I want to talk about. And it comes across as seamless. And people think I'm just speaking to them. Therefore, they're more likely to listen to me. You want people to listen to you. You want a relationship with your audience. When you're in person, you need to be looking at them. I'm often asked, what is the best form of eye contact when you are speaking to people? Because it all comes down to really 3 different types of eye contact. There's the bottom 1% of speakers, let's say even 10%, where they are staring at their notes. And if you're on the front row of that audience, you could stand up, light your hair on fire, and the speaker would never notice. Or they've turned their back to you to read the teleprompter. You could fall over dead. They wouldn't notice because they're completely ignoring you. That's the bottom 10% of speakers. There's the next sort of 89.9% of speakers where they're looking at the audience, but they're kind of like a windshield wiper. They're kind of like a water sprinkler. They're going back and forth. You never feel like that speaker's really looking at you. You never feel like they are looking right at you. It always seems like they're looking elsewhere, okay? So you don't want that. And from the speaker's perspective, they're saying, well, look at me, I'm great because I'm not staring at my script, but they're looking at the audience the whole time. They're never really looking at one person. That's not what the best speakers do. One of my trainers many decades ago happened to be working with the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton. It was re-election time. And it was the end of a long day. And my guy, Andy, my trainer, Andy, said to him, and he was just up there as a political aide, not as a trainer. My guy, Andy, turned to him and said, Mr. President, how did you do it? And they were sitting around, their sleeves were rolled up, having a beer, playing cards. And Andy said, Mr. President, how did you do it? You had 10,000 people today in the palm of your hand. How did you speak so well to them? And the president turned and said, Andy's very simple. I didn't speak to 10,000 people today. I focused on one person at a time, and I locked eyes with them. And I had a private one-on-one conversation with them for just a couple sentences. It's really just like 5 seconds. Not long, I'm not staring at them, but long enough for them to really feel like, wow, the president really spoke to me. And then I go to another person in the audience and I do that. And here's the thing, Andy, when I'm locking eyes, that person really feels it. It sends a certain electricity up them. And everyone else who sees me looking at one person, and it makes them think, well, he could be looking at me. I better pay attention. Here's the thing, Andy. This works even when bright lights are in my face and I can't see the audience. I'll just pick one spot out in the audience and I'll look at that one spot for a couple sentences. And the 20 people in that area will all feel like, wow, the president really spoke to me. And you do it around the room. And that is how the top 1% of speakers use their eyes to really communicate effectively, retain attention, and convey extreme confidence. Again, what did I just do right there? I gave you a data presentation. I could have put a PowerPoint slide up that said 3 types of eye contact, bottom 10% staring at notes, 89.9% windshield wiper, top 0.1% hold eye contact for 2 sentences. I could have put that up with bullet points and data, and it would have conveyed the same idea, but you would not have remembered it. By packaging in a story, again, it's a real story. In this case, I wasn't even there, but it was a real conversation I had with my colleague who did have this conversation with the former president. So sometimes you can even retell other people's stories. And it takes a minute or two, but it burns images in the memory of your audience. Your number one danger as a speaker, the number one problem is not that you say too much. The number one problem you face as a speaker is not that sweat comes down or that you forget what to say. The number one risk you face as a speaker is that you give your presentation, everything is smooth, everything is professional, your slides work the right way. And if I went around the room and put a bunch of money in front of each person and said, you get to keep this pile of money if you can tell me 2 things this speaker just said, I'd never have to give away any money, because most speakers fail at getting the audience to remember anything. Again, this applies to every type of presentation. You on a job interview, you're so worried, I don't want to get anything wrong. That's not your risk. If the person in HR, the head of sales or head of technology is interviewing you, they're interviewing 10 other people in the next day and a half. So 3 days later or Monday after the weekend, they're thinking about, who do we want to hire? Your danger is they don't remember anything you said, not that you said something wrong. So you've got to invest your energy into making your ideas come alive and memorable. And the way to do it is through stories. There's a lot of different types of speakers in the world, but bad speakers generally all have one thing in common. They love to tell stories, but there's no time. I got to go through all the data. Nobody remembers anything. Great speakers are also generally all the same. They illustrate key points with stories every time, not at the beginning of the speech, not at the end, but for every key point. If you do that, you can be a master speaker. Good luck. I want to thank you for spending some time with me. We have plenty of time left for questions, for comments. If you want to join me on screen, we can do that as well. I'll go ahead and put folks on screen and you can ask questions. I do have a few goodies for you that I want to share. So for starters, and I'm not selling anything today, okay? But I just want to share with you. Here are my online courses, and some of them, here's the All Access Master Communicator course. It's $1,000. If you are willing to write comments on my daily podcast on YouTube and other social media platforms, if you do that every day for the next month and you're watching this now, I will give that to you for $0. It will be absolutely free. So make a note of that. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. The page I'm talking about, this is my new daily podcast where I look at top news stories of the day, top business, technology, economic, culture stories of the day, and then I filter it through the lens of communication skills. That is what we do here. And if you leave comments, again, you got to do it every day for a month. Here you can see it's live right now. We're live. But if you go to my podcast and you can hit the page for podcast, you will see my daily podcast is there and you can leave comments. So if you want to become a lot better at speaking and get this master communicator course that does sell for $1,000, I will give it to you free. But the cost is I need you to have one comment per day for the next month. Now I have more than 300 online courses. I have an additional prize for any of you who really want to hone your skills. If you're really serious about getting better and better, if you give more comments than anyone else in the next month, today is October 1st, the last day of October on Halloween, I'll do a tally. If you give more comments than all of your fellow club members, all of your fellow students, I will give you access to any 5 of my courses. So we're talking about $5,000 worth. You can get that simply by posting more comments, starting more debate, more conversation on my podcast. Again, it's all you have to do is go to TJ Walker Success Channel on YouTube, but it's also on every social media platform. The other thing I would offer to you, if you really want to rehearse, get better, you can go to my digital clone. I have an interactive video clone on how to communicate more effectively. And it's really the latest in technology. So it will give you essentially the same advice I do. It will talk to you. It will give you advice on your feedback. It will give you advice on your message.
Communicate more effectively.
Hi, TJ. Thank you so much. I am very nervous as a public speaker. I have to give a presentation in class next week. What tips do you have for me on how I can be less nervous? Okay, and that is technology for us. We're having a slight glitch today, but normally it would then respond to me. It would call me by name. It can critique my background. So I would urge you to check that out. That's at tjwalker.ai. It's the absolute latest in using artificial intelligence to help people become more effective in speaking skills and media skills as well. So I want to thank we have a number of colleagues with us. Let's see. We're going to add John O'Toole. We're going to add Arif. We're going to add Zahriel. And I'm also going to quickly be respectful to the people who were nice enough to post comments. And Muhammad says, what's your best advice for overcoming the fear of judgment? First of all, you got to realize you are being judged. Every single time you've heard anyone speak in your entire life, you've made judgments. You have. You've said to yourself, oh, that's interesting. Let me pay attention. Oh, that's boring. Let me check my email. So first of all, realize people are judging you. Use that to your advantage. Use that to motivate you to practice on video and to say something interesting. And then keep practicing until you like what you see. People always forget the last part. They think I'm saying practice on video. They do it once, they see it, they hate it, and they say, well, this doesn't work. It only works if you keep practicing again and again until you like what you see. Another comment coming in with AI and short form content dominating attention spans. How can a speaker keep people truly engaged? You're absolutely right. It's harder than ever because people are used to having constant stimulation, the most interesting ideas, the best entertainment, the sexiest scantily clad people in the world are all available right here, which means you can't bore them. That's why you got to grab their attention right from the beginning. When I started today, I didn't say good morning, good afternoon, I'm happy to be here. My name is TJ Walker. I'm the president of Media Training Worldwide. Before I start today, blah, 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 blah. That's not how I started. And yet that's how most people start presentations. I wanted to start right out of the gate with something interesting for you. So I believe the first thing I said was, if you have one of these, you have every tool you need to be a great speaker. I wanted to hook you in to make you think, okay, this guy's talking about me, something that will help me, let me pay more attention. So that is my biggest advice, because there's always going to be more titillating stuff online and more AI content. Next question coming in. With AI, starting a conversation feels risky, but turning that single conversation into a genuine relationship feels like a mystery. Beyond small talk, what is the most crucial first step to building a proper, trusting connection with someone new? Part of it is just listening. So often, if you just meet someone new, there's the tendency to say, well, let me tell you about my new business I'm trying to raise money for, or let me tell you about my product that I'm trying to sell if you're at some kind of a networking event. A lot of times it's simply a matter of asking them a question and then really listening. One of the best questions I find is, what do you do for fun when you're not doing your work or you're not in school? People like to talk about that. Maybe you have some common interests. Maybe you have common hobbies. So ask people real questions and then really listen to them. Xavier says, hi, TJ, please say something in one line that is proven for the next 5 years. I'm not sure I 100% get what you mean, but I'll give it a stab. In one line, public speaking is going to be with us forever. Being interesting and practicing on video is your ticket to success. Whether that's one line or two, I don't know. But I think the more we become a high-tech world, the more people actually attend conferences and travel around the world to see presentations. They want to see real people in real life and talk to people and see them speak, because that's the way you put emphasis and priority on something and show people you believe it is important. Next comment comes, when I present my winning strategy, do I only explain what we need to do, or do I passionately explain why we are doing it? Do I connect it to the goals, their fears, and their successes? First of all, nobody cares about you. I hate to say that. Everything you do, you need to explain it in terms of what it's meaning to the audience. Explain to them how you're solving their problem. Then you can talk about you had the problem too, and that motivated you to create this new product or service. They don't need to know every single aspect of a technology. That's one of the biggest problems technologists face, startup entrepreneurs. They want to educate the venture capitalists on every single aspect of the gizmo. Huge, huge mistake. Tell people what problem you're solving that they can relate to, and then demonstrate the success, and you will be much better off. Next question, what practical daily habits would you recommend for young professionals and students to enrich their personal development and communication skills? Well, one of them is speak every day. Now, I'm old enough to remember, if you wanted to speak and learn your speaking skills, your options were really go to Toastmasters once a week and drive across town and take 3 hours out of your life, or knock on doors, mail a video cassette to local civic groups begging to speak for free, and then calling them for 6 months. It was very difficult. Now, you could speak to a worldwide audience every day by doing what I'm doing now. Speak live on YouTube, speak live on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media platform is popular in your country. Make recorded videos and put it out on LinkedIn. Guess what? Some people will criticize you. I get criticism. People say, TJ, I hate your teeth. Your eyes are too beady. What happened to your hair? You got to ignore that and focus on the people you do help. So that's my number one piece of advice, is do it every day. If you want to become a professional cricket player, you don't look at a goal of, I want to be a great cricket player and not play but once a year. You're playing every day. Get in the game every single day. Next question, next two questions relate to body language. How can I use my body language while doing a presentation? And the next question is, how important are nonverbal skills, gestures, facial expressions, body language, and effective communication? They're extraordinarily important. If you go back and watch this video with the sound off, you will see that my hands move. Yes, your hands are supposed to move. My face is moving. My eyebrows are moving. All human beings move their face, their hands, their body when they are speaking and they are comfortable and relaxed. If you doubt me, put some earplugs in, go to a bar, noisy bar or restaurant, and look at people who are in groups talking, or maybe they're watching a game. All of them are moving. There's animation. But what's the first thing so many people do when they're giving a presentation? It's like grabbing a lectern. I'm very happy to be here today, blah, 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 blah. And there's no movement other than my lips. Even if you have the best message in the world, we as human beings are conditioned to now sort of ignore you and make the judgment that you're nervous, you're scared, you're timid, you're not really confident in what you're saying. Well, if you're not confident in what you're saying, why should I pay attention to you? This is why it's critical to practice on video. Because if you're just saying it out loud, it's going to seem great to you. But when you see yourself looking down, frozen, stiff, it's going to be very obvious to you that you look nervous, uncomfortable. It's an easily solved problem, but it takes doing it on numerous takes, numerous practices. Next question, sir. You've trained many world leaders and CEOs. What communication habits do they all have in common? The ones who are most successful, well, a couple of things. They all think deep down they're not very good, that other people are sort of naturally gifted at it. They all think that. Nobody thinks they are uniquely skilled at being a great communicator. The next thing they have in common is they are willing to put the time into it to become better. And they realize it's not that time consuming. It's not that hard. I mean, the basics, when I work with someone to really ramp them up, I spend a full day with them. I get them on camera a dozen times, and they get to the point where they love how they look and sound. That's very expensive. So I'm not asking you to do that with me today. You can do it on your own. But they also see a lot of importance in rehearsing big speeches. Steve Jobs had a reputation of being a great speaker. He was a natural introvert. He was seen as sort of a crabby, grumpy guy. He's not naturally charismatic. He saw the importance of giving presentations, launching his new products. He would spend a whole week rehearsing those presentations. You don't have to spend a whole week. Even just 5 minutes rehearsing the opening of what you do will make you much, much better. Okay, let's go to more of the comments from the people nice enough to join us. Who would like to go first? Just speak out. I think let me make sure I've added everyone on. Okay, and John O'Toole, why don't we start with you? I appreciate you patiently waiting. What question or comment do you have? And your microphone is off. If you want to click your microphone on, Janet O'Toole, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's been a wonderful session so far, and the viewers and the audience will be benefited, I'm sure. You know that I'm the coordinator of my club, the club which has organized the session because of your great support. And you know that we are a South Asian country, and the main problem that the students encounter here, that they are naturally shy, and they know a lot. They would like to perform, but when they're on the stage, when they love speaking in front of people, they can't perform. So, and we can't inspire people or students to come forward. So we find a few. So as a coordinator or as a mentor, how can I motivate my students to come forward and to participate in public speaking? Thank you.
Well, these days, one of the things you do, it's a little less stressful, is just say, hey, can you submit a video once a week to the club, to the Facebook page? And that way you're in control. There's no one else around. You can do it. You don't like it, just hit delete, do another one. But I would ask people, just give, even if it's 20 seconds, tell us one thing you're working on or concerned this week, and do it in a video format. Doesn't have to be funny, doesn't have to have edits. You don't need special effects. Just create a 20-second video sharing one idea with the club. That would be a great thing. But also realize most people in the world are shy. I was the shyest kid in my class when I was in elementary school. The only reason I am here today is I had a teacher come up to me in 5th grade and say, "Hey, young man, why are you such a snob? You never talk to anyone." She didn't realize I was just shy. When I was graduating from elementary school, my teacher, Mrs. Stroop, came up to me and said, "TJ, I'm going to make a deal with you. I'm in charge of the graduation ceremony. I have to find some student to give the welcoming speech. Right now, you've got all A's, all the best grades in subjects, but your handwriting is horrible. It's still horrible. I'm going to give you an A in handwriting if you just give the welcoming speech at graduation in front of 500 parents, teachers, students." And I didn't like the idea of giving a speech, but I liked the idea of getting a good grade. I said, "Well, okay, I'll do it." So I got up that day and I read my speech. "Welcome parents, teachers, and students to the Bruns Avenue Elementary School." It wasn't the best speech in the world, but it got me in front of people. I got through it. Nobody said it was bad. I got the A in the class, and I learned at a very early age, if you're just willing to stand up and speak, good things can happen to you. So you've got to really look for opportunity and just say yes to opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere for speaking. And I meant to say, I'm mispronouncing your name, but Janatul Fardas is with us. Do you have a question?
Waka, Jamatul is the president of this club, and she's very dynamic. I hope she has a question for you. Jamatul, go ahead with the question. If you have any, please.
Oh, and your microphone is still off, Janatul. There we go. Go ahead. Well, I think we may have an internet connection. I believe it's, oh, there you are. Okay, go ahead. Your microphone is off again. Now go ahead. Unfortunately, I think we have a microphone problem. I'm not able to hear you. If you do want to post a question in the comments section, I would be happy to take a look at that. So I apologize for missing that. And if any other questions came in, let me see. Okay. Xavier says, "TJ, please say something." Oh, yeah, that one we already did. Please drop questions here. Madhav and some other people. I should comment on that. Madhav is one of our regulars here on the show. This is kind of a special edition of my show, Filtered with TJ Walker. And Madhav is nice enough to say he likes my suit. Well, thank you. But for every compliment I get, and I do get someone will say, "Oh, hate your suit, cheap suit." And that's one of the reasons why people have fear of not only public speaking, but public speaking online. Because when people have that anonymity, they can be mean, they can be nasty. And I think the best solution is just ignore it or laugh at it, because it's always done by people who never show their own face and have 2 followers and 0 videos. So you just have to ignore that. Other questions coming in. Let Arif, if you want to join us, and Zarul, if you have any other questions you're seeing perhaps on your own Facebook page or anyplace else, please feel free to share those.
Okay. To ask you another question, as someone who has worked globally, I'm exposed to the world because I had the privilege of going to the US to attend a training. Please tell me, as someone who has worked globally, do you notice, cultural differences in communication style, and how should speakers adapt in international context? Because people are from different worlds, they have different cultures. So as a speaker, how can we adapt in international context, and what is the best way to do so? Thank you.
So certainly there are some cultural differences in how people present in different cultures. I know there's certain Caribbean nations I go to and territories. If you don't start your presentation with good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone's offended and they won't listen to anything you say. So there can be certain little nuances. What I have found is the similarities among speakers across all cultures are so much stronger than the differences. And the similarities are most speakers in most countries all over the world are boring because they think a speech is about dumping lots of data. That's not what a speech is about. So that's the biggest problem is speakers are amazingly consistent across cultures because they're so often boring. The other thing that's consistent is that the speakers people like illustrate key concepts with stories. They bring in some emotion. They describe settings. They talk about a problem, how it was solved. And they're not afraid to share their own vulnerability. I don't mind sharing with you. I was terribly nervous and shy when I was young. My first speech was awful because if I just say, look, I'm the world's greatest expert on speaking and I'm great and I'm wonderful, it's hard to relate to that. Plus, it's not true, okay? Or at least it hasn't always been true. Fair enough.
That's great.
Sabiba also writes in with a question, as young students, how can we use communication skills to become leaders in our community? Well, the word leadership and the word communication go together. It's very hard to think of someone who is truly a great leader that is seen as a charismatic, strong leader who isn't also a good communicator. Now, there's different types of good public speaking, but at some level, great leaders who are considered charismatic use a speaking style that others really like, at least a certain segment of the population find interesting, compelling, and memorable. So if you want to be a leader, you need to learn how to communicate effectively. And this is really the single biggest difference between people who end their careers sort of mid-level management and those that go to senior leadership and the CEO suite. So a lot of people where their bosses are looking around, who do we want to promote? We got these 10 people, they all have good technical skills. They all have master's degrees from nice universities, but we have to promote someone to lead this new division and lead 20 people. And unfortunately, a lot of people get pigeonholed into, well, this is a good behind the scenes player. This is a good sort of team worker, but I don't envision them running a meeting, talking to 20 people. And that's the big problem. So you've got to really figure out how to be a good communicator, and you do it by speaking. Ask a question in every class. That's a type of public speaking. A lot of people are not afraid to ask a teacher when it's one-on-one, but if there's 30 or 50 kids in the class, I don't want to speak. It seems scary. We have time for just one or two more questions. We're in overtime right now, but I will let those of you on screen. Who else has another question or any other questions you've seen come in?
Sir, I
have
have
a
a question from comment section. Sir, if we get
Yes,
a
go ahead.
question from the audience which we actually don't know how to answer, what should we pull to take care of the situation?
I don't know. What I can tell you, see what I did right there? If you just say, I don't know, and you do it in a way that you don't act embarrassed or you don't act flustered, you then pivot to something relevant, no one will remember that. I'm gonna go full screen a moment. Here's the problem a lot of people have, is they're asked a question from the audience and all of a sudden, this is what happens. They look embarrassed. They look like, oh no, I've been exposed as a fraud. This is embarrassing. And unfortunately, that becomes the most emotional moment of the entire presentation. And it therefore becomes the most memorable moment of the presentation. The main thing is to just quickly ask yourself, do I know something, some aspect of some part of that question I can answer? If it's absolutely, if you ask me, TJ, who's your favorite cricket team? I would truthfully say, I don't know. I have been to the Bombay Cricket Club. I've seen it on TV. It seems fascinating, but I honestly know nothing about it. You're probably not going to remember that answer because I didn't act flustered or embarrassed. And I answered it in a relatively smooth, comfortable way, just being transparent. Now, here's a question I'll ask you, and I always ask audiences this, I work with them. Think of some time where you have seen someone give a presentation. It could be a classroom, a conference, a cultural event. Somebody asked them a question, and the person couldn't answer it, and they seemed embarrassed. I'll ask that question, whether it's to 10 people, 100, or 1,000. And typically, if it's 1,000 people, 200 hands will come up, about 20%. So it is a real risk. It's a real problem. But I always follow up with one more question. My next question is, how many of you remember someone giving a presentation and they were so incredibly boring, you didn't remember a single thing they said afterwards? Guess how many hands go up? All 1,000 hands go up. So I urge you, focus on the far higher risk. The bigger risk in every presentation you give is that it's boring and people don't remember anything. So focus your energies on making ideas interesting. I do want to remind you of the offer I'm giving, which is, again, there's no charge for this. If you leave a comment every day for a month on my new podcast, Filtered with TJ Walker, which is right here. All you have to do is type in TJ Walker on YouTube, TJ Walker Success, or my podcast, Filtered with TJ Walker. You'll find it. If you leave a comment every day for the next month, I will give you at no charge my $997 online Master Communicator course. If you post more comments on more videos and leave more engagement for the next month than any of your fellow students, I'll give you your choice. I have hundreds of courses. I'll give you 5 free courses, no strings attached. The other thing I would remind you, if you want to go ahead and practice, even though it didn't work for us a minute ago, if you go to my online clone, tjwalker.ai, you can ask any question in a text format, audio, or video. And typically they all work, although the video didn't a moment ago. And that can, if we ran out of time and your question was not answered today, or if you're watching this on demand on your club's Facebook page or any place else, you can always go to my digital, and it costs nothing, tjwalker.ai. You can check that out. I want to thank all of you for spending time with me today, and I'm hoping every one of your presentations in the future is a huge success. Good luck and thanks.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank you formally on behalf of the club and my college. So may I have a chance? Waka?
Go ahead. Sure.
Okay. Waka, thank you very much. We're feeling really honored and privileged to have you among us. And you have shared such powerful insights with us. And I'm sure the participants and the viewers and the students are going to benefit it. And we're really deeply grateful to you. I hope that in future you will keep supporting us and we will see you with us. And the takeaways of this program is wonderful. And I would like to thank you again. And I would like to thank you on behalf of my principal, Professor Nurul Islam Khan. He also thanked you and expressed gratitude to you, as you're so busy, you're so much engaged. Still, you make your time and join us and give such a wonderful session for us. And also, I would like to thank all of you who participated today. And let's thank Mr. Waka, because as I learned today that speaking or communication is not about being perfect. Rather, it's about being clear, confident, and connected, as Mr. Waka emphasizes. So, Waka, thank you again for joining with us. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you for those gracious words. I do appreciate it. And one last ask for you. You just mentioned you learned a lot. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to practice what I preach. Anytime someone comes up to you after a presentation and says, "Oh, great speech, fantastic," don't just say thank you. Say thanks. Tell me, what did you remember? Because if someone comes up to me and says, "Great speech, TJ," and I say, "Tell me what you remember," and they say, "Well, you were great and charismatic and wonderful," I know I didn't communicate anything. If they can't tell me specific messages, examples, anecdotes, stories, I didn't communicate. So let's leave on that. That's my challenge to you. What did you remember about anything I said today? Go ahead and post the comment on whatever platform you're on. I would like to, preferably YouTube, but you can do it on Facebook or any other platform. Post your comments there. I want to know exactly anything you remembered, anything you liked for that matter, anything you didn't like. Give me feedback. And that is something I want you to do after every presentation you give as well. Thanks so much. See you next time.